Before we even start, let me say this. I'm tired of remakes. More specifically, I'm tired of games that don't need remakes. Persona 4 doesn't need a remake. Metal Gear Solid 3 doesn't need a remake. Resident Evil 4 doesn't need a remake. And as much as I like the Silent Hill 2 remake, it never needed it. So why am I talking about it today? Well, just because I disagree with the practice of what games get remakes, remaking a game can actually benefit certain games out there. Take a shot every time I say remake in this video. I don't think you'll last very long. So today, we're going to talk about games that I feel actually benefit from getting a remake. Games that have a lot of potential but never quite got to those heights. Also, I'm not talking about Shenmue in this video. That game is perfect the way it is.
I see. But Itoi-san, how do you know about the three blades?
Years ago, I was Chinese.
How about a kiss for luck?
You've got to be kidding.
The Legend of Zelda, a legendary franchise. See what I did there?
Please clap.
Zelda is no stranger to remakes and remasters, but they're mainly of the 3D games, which to most people are the most loved Zelda games. It's not my favorite though, my favorite is still Link Between Worlds on 3DS. But there was a recent remake for one of the top-down entries in the Zelda series, being Link's Awakening. So 2D Zelda does have a chance to get some remakes in the future. So what game am I going to talk about? A Link to the Past? The Oracle games? The Minish Cap? Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. Okay, you may be asking, why this game? This game is largely considered the black sheep of the Zelda franchise. If you look at any old review from back in the day, you would see a bunch of people absolutely destroy Zelda 2, considering it one of the worst Zelda games ever, next to the CDI games.
Gee, it sure is boring around here.
My boy.
Well, in my opinion, I think that the game was lambasted way too much. I think this game has a lot of potential, but because it was an NES game, it's pretty underwhelming of experience for a lot of people, largely because of some frustrating gameplay design choices. However, I think that the core combat and temple design in this game are really fun. You don't really need to change that part of the game. It's also super unique because it's not a traditional top-down Zelda game, it's more of a 2D side-scroller. And I think that makes the game stand out compared to all the other Zelda games. I know a lot of people hate the random encounters, but I think that if you can balance it so that you can more easily predict when you're going to encounter an enemy, I think that will make the game more fair to more people. While Zelda 2 isn't looked at too fondly, some game developers out there have taken elements that worked with Zelda 2 and put it into a package that feels way more cohesive. I think that the best example out there is Shovel Knight. It took all the elements that didn't really work in Zelda 2 and made something amazing with it, while also infusing other NES era games in there as well. So Nintendo, please remake Zelda 2. Take this black sheep and turn it into the classic that it deserves to be remembered as. Give a new generation of kids trauma from the Ganon Game Over screen.
Oh yeah! This is happening!
The Sonic Adventure games, probably the games in the Sonic series that people want to see the most remade. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think the first adventure really needs one. I think it's a pretty solid game on its own. Though you wouldn't know that if you play the Steam ports. I honestly just put it here because I had the thumbnail made first and I thought it looked nice. This section is more talking about Adventure 2. But I know that if we do get an Adventure 2 remake, we will also have a 1 remake as well. And preferably, Sega sells them together and not sell them separately. The main reason I want an Adventure 2 remake is because of the discourse about it online. A thing about the game that a lot of people can agree on is not that great. The other playable characters that aren't Sonic and Shadow. I think that we can all agree that except when you're playing the main storyline and trying to complete everything, most people when they come back to Adventure 2 mainly want to play the Sonic and Shadow stages. The speed stages just hit different. In Adventure 1, while not as bad, I still prefer playing as Sonic. Yeah, I don't think the Big the Cat stages are that bad. I mean, they're not great, but they don't make me want to tear my hair out. I especially feel negative towards them because of how short they are. Unless you're going for 100%, there's not much to these stages. Still, it's better than Adventure 2. Some of these stages have the opposite problem where they go too long. Everyone who plays Adventure 2 has had some sort of problems with the mech sections and the treasure hunting sections. I can only handle hearing that beeping sound for so goddamn long. And I'm still pissed off how they gutted the radar for the treasure hunting sections in Adventure 2. I'd also like to see these remakes because the retail versions that you can get of Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 are the inferior versions of those games. To make the Steam ports as good as their Dreamcast originals, you'll have to do a lot of modding to fix it. So I believe that if we're not getting any new re-releases anytime soon, a remake is not a bad option.
This party's getting crazy. Let's rock.
Devil May Cry is a series that I hold very dear to my heart. I've been with this series through its ups and downs. And what I consider the worst game in the franchise, even worse than DMC Devil May Cry somehow, is Devil May Cry 2. And I have my reasons why. You can pretty much beat this game just by holding down the shoot button. Guns are broken in this game, and they pretty much are just an easy win button. It is so easy to beat the final boss without taking any damage. And that's my biggest problem with the game. It's too easy. I totally understand why fans and critics were appalled by this game. Dante is his most different in this game. He's a lot more moody, largely because of the events of DMC 1.
I should have been the one to fill your dark soul with light.
And that's probably the reason why they made 3 a prequel game, so that he can be more in line with the wacky wahoo pizza man that people are used to now. Despite the many flaws that 2 has, with a remake it can be vastly improved. I especially want this to happen because I'd like to play as Lucia in a good game, and also make sure to keep Trish as an unlockable playable character. The best way to make this game better is to balance the guns, make melee more viable. Ebony and Ivory need a rest. I don't know if they will keep the fixed camera, but more likely they will make it behind the shoulder just like 5, with arenas that have fixed cameras. An obvious elephant in the room is what about 1? I honestly would be fine with a 1 remake, but I think 2 needs it more. Though I think Capcom would want to do a 1 remake before they even think about touching 2. After all, the modern remake that everybody is thinking about right now is because of what Capcom did with Resident Evil 2. In the end, I would much rather prefer a DMC 6, but it seems like we're gonna have to wait a while for that. So I guess it'd be fine if they were just doing remakes for now. At least we have the Devil May Cry TV show. God, I hate it here.
I am evil Homer. I am evil Homer. I am evil Homer.
I love adult cartoons. Not the ones that you're thinking of. And The Simpsons are one of the most iconic ones.
This is what a cornfield looks like, honey.
There were a bunch of games released for The Simpsons for a long time, and Hit and Run is by far the most popular. It's a fun as hell game. However, anyone who has played this game can admit the late game shows its flaws. I'm totally cool with difficult games, but the late game of Hit and Run is not the fun kind of hard. I'm not talking about those adult cartoons, I swear. The difficulty curve in this game is not warranted, especially for a kid's first GTA game. I also feel like the models are clearly not the best. To be fair, they have their charm, but if this game were to get a remake, I want it to have a cel-shaded style, similar to what they did for the Simpsons game from 2007. If you didn't know, The Simpsons Hit and Run has a fan remake that someone made. It looks great, but the creator doesn't want to release it to the public, which I find fair. I think it's better to just make a passion project than worry about a potential cease and desist. A cool thing that the creator did was implement animated cutscenes similar to the show that would show up in the game. And I really like that touch. I would totally love to see this in an official remake. Now, what are the chances of this game actually getting a remake? I don't know. It's probably very unlikely because it's not a high priority for Disney to do. God, it's so weird that Disney owns The Simpsons.
I'm the
celebration.
But even though I don't think it's very likely, it isn't impossible. SpongeBob has a cult classic game from the same era, and that got a remake. So maybe the game about the Griffins, I mean the Simpsons, could have a chance of a remake. I love it when Homer Simpson does the surfing bird dance from Fortnite.
This is way too gross. Who would even think of doing something so disgusting?
The final game we are talking about is from the Silent Hill series. With the success of the Silent Hill 2 remake and them going forward with a remake of 1, it's highly likely that the other entries in the Silent Hill franchise are going to get remakes eventually. Now, 3 and 4 are pretty obvious choices, and some can argue that 4 needs a remake, as it's definitely a very controversial entry in the series. But I don't want to talk about those games. I think that those games are great and don't really need a remake that much. Instead, I want to talk about the post Team Silent entries, aka the games made by the American developers. But which one am I going to talk about? Silent Hill Origins? Nah, I don't like how it feels like a pointless entry. It's a prequel that doesn't bring anything new to the table that we didn't already know from 1. Silent Hill Homecoming? Somehow it brings even less to the series than Origins. It's just a retread of Silent Hill 2. How about Shattered Memories? I like this game, but it's a retread of 1, and 1's already getting a remake. I honestly think it needs a port more. Now, if you somehow couldn't tell from the gameplay I'm using, I'm talking about Silent Hill Downpour. The only game from the 7th generation of consoles that I want to see a remake for, largely because I'm still getting used to the idea of the 7th generation of consoles being old. I have a soft spot for Downpour, even if it's not the best game out there. Comparing it alongside the Team Silent entries, it's not the best, but compared to most of the other American Silent Hill games, it's way better. I always liked how Silent Hill kind of forms itself around the psyche of our protagonist, and with our protagonist being a felon, it makes for a really interesting aesthetic. I also think that the story of this game is amazing and is as good as the Team Silent entries. But because of the unfortunate release date of the game, and with it being just a glitchy mess overall, it strayed a lot of people away from the game, especially with the reviews at the time. So I think a remake can expose many more people to this amazing story, just like what the Silent Hill 2 remake did. It would also be nice to play this game without the crappy chase sequences, and also getting rid of the generic linear pick either good or bad to get a specific ending that was plaguing 7th gen console games at the time. I also think that these are some of the worst enemy designs in the entire Silent Hill series, so they definitely need a redesign for a remake. Though I do like the Boogeyman, not because he's scary, but because I like his implementation in the story. So yeah, if you couldn't tell by the fact that this is the longest section in the video, I want to see a remake for this game the most. Because under this mess of a game is something amazing. Now, do I think that all of these remakes are gonna happen? I don't know, maybe. Some are more likely than others. Companies are only gonna care about the ones that can make them money. And the games that I talked about today are not guaranteed money printers. Except for the Sonic Adventure games, I bet that those remakes would sell a shit ton. And in the end, I'd be okay with just simple ports of these games that tweak some of the issues that I have with them. I just thought that it was fun to imagine if these games existed. So in the end, what did we learn today?
I don't understand a thing in this game, bro. This game has done nothing but just confuse me, bro. You know what I'm saying? I just don't understand what's going on.